All right, so now we're looking to find some solutions to some quadratic equations. So the one that's probably going to take up the most of your time are quadratic equations with 1, 2, 3 of the terms. So this is a quadratic trinomial. And so hopefully you have something like this where you can factor out the a value, and the a value is 5. And so we're going to factor out that 5, and this is going to be x squared plus 5 from divided by into 25 is 5x minus 180 divided by 5, I believe, is, and you can always just grab a calculator if you're not sure. It's good practice to do. 180 divided by 5, we got 36. Okay, so once you have yourself your trinomial and a is 1, you want to look to see if you can put this into the x game. And the c value, that's their third term, your constant term, goes on the top. And your b value, that's your linear term, goes on the bottom. Remember to keep the signs exactly how they are. And so we need two numbers that multiply to negative 36 to add to 5. And so we know that one of these has to be positive and one of these has to be negative. It's the only way you can multiply two numbers together and to get a negative number. The 5 down here, when we're adding them together, this is a hint to which one is bigger. So we know that when we combine these two, the positive has to be 5 bigger than the negative. So thinking about numbers that we can multiply to get 36, and this isn't going to change regardless of the b. 6 times 6, 36 times 1, 9 times 4, 18 times 2. But only one of these is 5 away from the other. So this is 0 away, 35 away, 9 and 4. So 9 and 4 is 5 away. 9 is 5 away from 4. And right here, this tells us that 9 has to be the bigger number, because when you add it, or it obviously it's a bigger number, it's got to be the positive number, because when you add it to negative 4, it needs to win. So this is 9 and negative 4. All right, so we're going to write ourselves now the factored form of this. This is 5 times x plus 9 times x minus 4. Now the solutions to this is what x needs to be to make these equal to 0, because anything times 0 is 0. Alright, so what needs to be added to 9 to make that a 0? Negative 9. Negative 9 plus 9 is 0. And what needs to x need to be subtracted by 4 to be 0? Well, that's positive 4. So that's how you would solve that one. All right, go to the next guy. Nothing to factor out here. I guess you could factor out a 2. And so this is x squared minus 36. And so when you do your x game, the negative 36 comes on the top, the 0 goes on the bottom. So it needs to multiply to become a negative, and they need to cancel each other out, and that's 6 and 6. X minus 6, x plus 6. Remember to put the 2 in the front that we factored out up here. And so what are our solutions? A positive 6 and a negative 6 would make these zeros. All right, let's come on over to this guy. I have a negative 4a and negative 4 go into both of these. So this is x squared. Negative 16 divided by negative 4 is positive 4x. And then once again, negative 16 divided by negative 4 is positive 4. And so now I can just do the x game again with the 4 on the top and the bottom. Both of these have to be positive because our b and our a are positive, and then what multiplies to 4 and adds to 4, those are both 2. So I can write this as x plus 2, the negative 4 in the front, times x plus 2. Or I can write this as x plus 2 squared, which would be my preferred method because there's only one solution here, and that is negative 2. Even though it works for both of them, we don't list it twice. We just say x is equal to negative 2. All right, finally, let's go over to this guy. Now, both, unlike the 2x squared minus 72, both of our terms here have an x. So I can actually factor out an x for sure. I'm going to factor out one of these x's, but I can also factor out a negative 3. And this gives us an x remaining. Negative 3 into 12, this is going to become a negative 4. And I successfully factored this out. All right, so now we can figure out the zeros without doing the x game. Negative 3 times what is 0? And the answer to that is obviously going to be 0. Anything times 0 is 0. Okay, so when you don't have a plus or minus and you just have the x by itself, one of your solutions is 0. And then this other guy has got to be positive 4. Okay, so let's say you factor it out and you came up with these factors. X plus 7 times 3x minus 1 equals 0. What does x need to be here? Well, obviously the first one is negative 7. But the second one is a little bit trickier, right? Because it's not, the x isn't by itself. So how would I find out what x is? Well, this is 3 times some number minus 1. So how can I undo that 3? Well, you simply solve for x here. We can write this as 3x minus 1 equals 0. We can add 1 to both sides. So 3x equals 1. And then we can divide by 3. And that's the solution, is 1/3. And if you look and you plug it back in here, 1/3 of 3 is 1, and 1 minus 1 is 0. So that's how you can get around doing this without trying to substitute. So your answers are negative 7 and 1/3. Okay, and we're just going to go to the next guy, and it's more the same. You got both of these this time with no x by itself. There's a value in front of it. So 3x plus 2 equals 0 minus 2. Divide by 3. And you've got negative 2/3. And then for this guy over here, you would add 4. So 3x is equal to 4. Divide by 3. And x is equal to 4/3. So just keep in mind, if you have a coefficient onto the x, you're going to have to divide or possibly multiply.